You here for a training session, Ron? No.
Kathy, you want a cupcake? Ron, you better have a cupcake.
No, I'm good,
Are you sure?
thanks.
City doesn't buy much, so maybe we'll have one. Okay. Right.
Well, we'll call the meeting to order. Stand, say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Joni. Oh, I suppose we better do the agenda first.
Motion to approve.
Motion been made, is there a second? Second, motion been made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Minutes. Motion approved. Made, is there a second? Motion made and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carried. Okay, so we'll jump on you first.
In your packets, amended with this contract, and this is what the county commission, the contract and the fee schedule that we put in there. And this is what we came up with. It's 20% of certain costs. It's kind of like your city police contract, a percentage of the certain costs, like for instance, you wouldn't pay any percentage of the soil mapping because that has to do with agricultural property. So there'd be nothing on that, but 20% of the other fees of the county, of the other costs of having our assessor at the county level. And then they wanted $50 per parcel for it. Basically, it's anytime she has to leave her office, which is gonna be like any new additions. The other thing we looked at is, I know you guys, it's been over 10 years since somebody's been in and looked at each property. So that was something Jerry was wanting to get done too and never got done. So we decided we would charge $50 per parcel to go and reassess everything. And then we put a maximum amount on it so that you guys had a budget number to use. So we decided 150 properties, basically, there's about 600 structures in the city of Cando. There's 1,400 parcels, so there's 600 actual like structural, like commercial places, that because that's about the amount of water bills you send out. So that's kind of where I got that number from. So we thought at 150 per year in 4 years, you would get through the entire city. I'll be honest, I don't think we're gonna get to 150 of them. I figured if it takes her an hour per parcel and she does 7 a day, that's 35 in a week she can get done. She's gonna have to spend just a month of her time alone in the city, and I don't think she has that to do. So like I said, that was more for a budgeting purpose, and she's also new too. So I mean, I think she's gonna get quicker at the process also. She did talk to Jerry, and Jerry was willing to do some consulting with her. I don't know if he'd charge you any fees on that. If it is, it'd be very little. She's talked to him now and he hasn't charged her anything to do so. So
we're still on his retainer through June.
okay, no one there. Okay. So I don't know if there'll be much charge for that or not, but yeah, basically this kind of sums up. It takes care of our assessor, like what we pay our assessor and some of our software costs. That's basically what you're paying for. You do pay Vanguard some now too, don't you? You pay for software?
I haven't
You
paid.
should have been. I don't know how you can.
They told me when I called to get it transferred to the new computer, they said we're linked in with the county's license.
Okay.
So that means
So
we
we've been
probably should have been
for
paying.
your license, okay?
We got a freebie, I guess.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody.
No, it's done now, so it doesn't much matter, so.
I have a question then when she sent me a letter about this a little bit, and she maintained that they'd already Figured, especially the business in Cando hadn't been assessed for quite a while, and there, I thought the figure she said was like, them on a few houses, it was going up like 2.4 million, now where did that figure come from?
So that's an actual, had part to do with last year's assessment. So what happens is when you, and maybe I should have had her here to explain this, but with the state, you have to have a 90% threshold.
Right, yeah.
The commercial properties as a whole were under that 90%. They were like at 87%. So she raised it up to like, that's where that percentage came in, like overall, she had to get another 3% in there. So she raised it, I think now they're at like 90.2. If you don't do that, the state will
Right.
come in and they'll raise it to 95. So I suppose the commercial properties hadn't been reassessed for a while, and I imagine that's where that came in. So most of the commercial, and it didn't go up a straight percentage overall. It depended on the property. Some went up more than 3%, some went up less than 3%, depending on where they were. So that had to do with last year's assessment. But now, like we had a couple of commercial people at the county commission meeting, because you guys didn't have a city assessment meeting. So we had a couple commercial owners here and basically said they thought that it was overvalued, and all we could do is go in and check it out. So those are like two of them that she needs to go in and look at and reappraise them and see if they're really where they're at. So I know that's two she has to do. She'd also like building permits right away, and she'll get started on those as they come through. She'd like to get those done. So.
Well, I had two of them jump me and said their taxes doubled, and I thought found that a little hard to believe, so.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't.
Shouldn't jump that much, I wouldn't think.
Well, valuations and taxes are two different things. And yeah, and just because your
Well, they were talking
valuation,
about their taxes.
yeah. They wouldn't know what the taxes are.
You're just giving me the valuation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
they
like I
wouldn't
said,
know what
I
taxes
told them
are
I'd find
yet.
out a little bit.
I know the
more.
ones when they really looked at them, they hadn't increased as much as they were comparing it to the wrong number. So
Yeah.
really, like, it really had, I think it was Sitz's and all of that, Hiltz building, the Hiltz Hospital there. And they're both like buildings not really being used at this point. So, and honestly, nobody had been in them since Vanguard was in them in 2012 was the last time anybody was in them, so. So this is what we came up with. You guys can discuss it. Does anybody have any questions on this? I know Cavalier County, what they were doing like $100 per.
Yeah, 100.
$100 a parcel.
She was doing 20% across the board of expenses.
Except like I said, the soil mapping would
Yeah.
pertain to the.
Well, I'm
city,
looking at
but
travel, there isn't gonna be much travel,
No,
can't do, but I mean, you're just doing 20% across. the board.
20% of what it costs to have our assessor, because we feel like the city of Canada is gonna be probably about 20% of what we do overall in the county. Half of the population actually lives in Canada, so it's half, but we're trying to keep it reasonable, because it doesn't do any good to break you guys either, and then.
It's the same taxpayers' money.
It
anyway,
is,
so-
it is. So basically, out of pocket max is gonna be about 25,000 is what it's gonna cost you to have.
How much?
But about 25,000 total is gonna be your maximum amount it could be. And like I said, I don't think that first year, I don't think she's gonna get 150. But it gives you a number to budget anyway.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Johnny.
Say, do you want to stick around and listen to the golf course thing that's on there?
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
gotta get going.
Okay,
I don't know if anybody's gonna be here. from one of you, Jim.
okay, well then.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Tony.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Basically, this contract would be starting in a week, July 1. Because we would stop paying Jerry. We wouldn't pay Jerry in July. If you guys sign this.
you have what his cost have been average?
Well, it's 500 a month regardless, so that's 6,000 a year, plus he bills us $60 an hour, so I mean,
Generally, what do we pay him?
it varies. I think last year, I think we paid him 6,000 over his, so a total of 12.
So we actually paying double over. And.
But then there's, it's worth something to have this interviews having the same assessor
Oh, yeah.
do this whole thing and.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
It's gonna cost.
We're just taking from one hand and putting it to the other.
Yeah, and we are behind, but, you know, it like was done every, what, 5 years, and it's been over 10 since the city did it, and so, I mean, we probably will find some property values going up quite a bit too, I'm sure.
He was talking about if he would have stayed on, he would have had to do the footwork, so his bill would have been significantly higher
Yeah,
this year
maybe
anyway.
quite higher this year, so, yeah, we're gonna do the,
Agree to pay the 20% of the counties.
okay, made it or second. All right, motion been made and second, then to pay the 20% of the county tax equalization. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Visitors. How about the waterworks? What do we got to do?
I'm just gonna start the conversation. We had been talking throughout all of our continuing education about long-term planning of a water system and how we get to the point where we are planning for the future instead of just fixing things as they break. Reaction versus planning ahead. What, I can't think of it. Yes, thank you, sorry. So anyways, that's kind of what started this whole thing, and Rural Water Systems Association does provide some services to kind of assist cities to get set up to make a plan. But before you can make a plan, you have to understand what your numbers are and what they mean. And that's kind of what Dan and Nathan. I can't speak. I've talked all day today. What Dan and Nathan have assisted me in figuring out how to compile those numbers and how to present those numbers to you so that you can make a decision. So that's what's in your packet is the first thing that we did, and we had Rudy present and Scott and Dan and I and Kathy. Was there anyone else there at that time? And so we talked about an assessment of our system. And if anybody else has anything to weigh in on here, this was just our office staff kind of taking what that conversation was and putting it into this document. So the assessment has the 3 steps like you see on page 2. And so we thought the top 3 are on your page there: financial viability, infrastructure viability, and employee and leadership development are what we had named the biggest 3 things that were important to our system. Based on the conversations that Rudy, Scott, and us had. So I don't know if the full council agrees with this assessment or disagrees with the assessment, but this is what we did a month and a half ago or so. And so that's kind of where this goes. And then moving on to page 3, kind of talks a little bit more. This was the tool that we used to kind of rate it. And so those were the 10 areas. And so we picked the top 3 that we thought were the most important. And then Dan kind of helped us format this a little bit and kind of give us some recommendations on what other systems have done. Do you want to speak to our action plan, Dan?
Yeah, yep. I'm Dan with North Dakota Rural Water Systems. Yes, is
Come up here and sit down.
okay.
We can hear you.
All right. Make me even more nervous.
And then you're going to be on film at that.
Oh, great. Okay. I just won't look that way then. So out of those 10 different action key management areas, those three, the financial viability, infrastructure stability, employee and leadership development were chosen. And I would encourage each of you to go down that list of 10 and rate it yourself to see where you think each one of those are, whether it's water resource adequacy. Well, you get your water from rural water, so they're kind of responsible for that. So it's maybe not a big priority on your list, but maybe the financial viability number 6, and it gives a little explanation there of what they're talking about when they're talking about financial viability. And how do you rate that? Are you financially viable for the future or not? And you just kind of rate that, and how big of a priority is it to you? If it's not a high priority, well, then you put it's a low priority, and then we put it into a chart and we rate each one of them, and that's where we came with those 3. So on the financial viability, it's, well, how are you going to be in the future if you don't do anything with your rates now or fees or anything like that? And so the description was to discuss rate requirements and related system repair requirements with customers. How involved are they with this? Do they know that there's a need out there? And if they do find out there's a need, are they willing to put money into it? And whether that's through increases of whatever you want. I mean, that's up to the city. You guys decide, and have a study on rate requirements. And that is what Nathan has done, and he will present that in a little bit here. And then set aside funds for reserves. Do you have enough money if there is an emergency on a rainy day problem fund? Can you pay for it, or do you got to go borrow money right away? And that's something just to look into the future for planning. It's no fun getting caught behind the 8 ball and there you sit with no money. You got to make this repair. Well, all of a sudden you're begging for money wherever you can get it. And for loans and grants through the state, different areas, you have to have so much. You got to be able to pay for that loan. And if your rates aren't set right to where you don't have the money to repay it, they're not going to borrow you that money. So I mean, it's just pure and simple. You better have that money if you're going after a loan. So then a timeline to work on those. It's just, well, what speed does the council want to move at? If you do have to increase rates, when do you want to do it? When you start? All that type of stuff. And then this goes on to the responsible party, which is obviously the city council and city staff, and relevant resources that whether you have them on hand, if you need to hire an outside firm to come in and help you figure out different ways to finance projects, that's what you got to do then. And then different challenges on the same one there on page 5 goes through talking about the residents. Every resident is normally going to be opposed to a rate increase. Yeah, we all are. I mean, but sometimes for the future, you have to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to have much of a future down the road number of years. And council being hesitant at raising rates due to feedback. Yeah, you're going to get that. Everyone will. And then manpower. It takes a lot of work to find those grants and to fill out the paperwork for a lot of them. So does that fall on Amanda and Kathy, or you get outside help from a consulting firm or whatever? And then with no reserves, you're not set for a rainy day. You're going to be struggling there. So then the next one was that they had chose was infrastructure stability. And I don't know if you want me to go over everything or if you just want to kind of go through it, but
You know, maybe they can read that on
Yeah.
their own time,
Yeah.
Jan.
yeah.
But I guess what I'm looking from the council is, are you guys wanting us to plan for the future? Then we need to start like appointing who's doing that and how we're doing that. If we don't want to plan for the future, then I can budget exactly the same as last year. But if we're planning for the future, the budget for next year starts in the next 30 days. So I need a commitment one way or the other. And this document, I don't need a commitment tonight, but by the next meeting or the next 2 meetings, I need a direction one way or the other. And it has to be council responsibility to point me in that direction. I can't, that's not my job. So I'm looking for more direction. We've compiled the information a lot from these resources that we have available, by the way, free of cost. We pay a membership fee to the association. This is what they do. So to me, it doesn't make sense to not utilize those resources. So I'm kind of looking to all of you for feedback on what we've laid out. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Should we move forward? When and how?
Right now, I think we need to do what we did last year until we find out a little more what the sewer project's gonna be, where the prairie dog bill's coming in and where all this other stuff's coming. We don't know yet. And if there's gonna be a rate increase, it's gonna have to be on the sewer, and that'll happen next year. We'll know what that would be after we find out where all these other things are coming in at.
If we wait till next year, we can't do anything till 2024 then.
Raleigh, one thing to remember here is, in our cash reserves, you could designate a certain portion of that. It isn't that you don't have any money.
Right.
You gotta say, well, I want this much to go into infrastructure improvements. It isn't like we're out of money. So maybe we can kind of plan with that, and maybe you don't even need an increase right now, but you should designate part of that to cash reserve for infrastructure improvements. And there's what's in there, $1 million.
Yeah, we got at least $1 million, probably more.
No. I'm sorry, where are you getting your numbers?
Well, I think I just looked at this and I thought we had over 2 million there now. We've been running about $1 million.
Well, it's holding. That's not
year.
extra. That's not extra money. I think we're misunderstanding what's going on here.
Yeah, I
That's
think
how
you
much
are.
money
Now
it
listen
takes
to
to
me.
run.
Now, listen, that extra cash reserve, we should designate that or a portion of that, whatever you think is appropriate. Do we need $200,000 or $100,000 or whatever and keep, you've got money. It doesn't do any good to just hoard the money and but you can't waste it all either, So go ahead now. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That money is not extra money. Almost all of that money is spoken for in the yearly budget. I think you guys are misunderstanding a fund balance versus extra budgeted money.
What about like the general? Says we got 666,000.
We do, but lots of money goes out of there throughout the year. So that holds at that, but that isn't building extra. That is how much it takes to run the city.
I believe if you take everything that's budgeted at the end of that, you'll find that there's close to $1 million left over.
In theory, yes.
No, it's not in theory, it's
But
there.
I want to caution you guys because there is some reserve there, but any projects we do, $1 million isn't going to do it.
No, and we're not saying we're gonna do that. It's just to get into this project a little bit so we can figure out where we're gonna be, then we'll have some firm numbers. We're gonna know which way we're gonna go. I mean, if we can get 600,000 out of this prairie dog this year and next year, that's over half that million we're gonna always done. So we're down to $5 instead of $7 bill. We might have a $3.50 bill on sewer. We don't know these numbers yet. That's why I said, I think for now, we need to just do the budget like last year and we'll address it when the time comes.
I will do whatever the council advises me to do, but my personal opinion on looking at the numbers, that's not a good idea.
What are you recommending?
I think we need to hear out the details of how much money it would take to do an improvement plan. We haven't even gotten that far yet. You guys are saying, let's not look at it. When would you like to look at it? When we need a full system and it's going to cost $50 million? I politely and respectfully ask the council to at least consider looking into the future a little. Because our reserves are not, the numbers look good only because we're holding and we're not spending any of it right now. If we have a project that's a small project, that's gone, completely gone, and then some. I strongly encourage you guys to hear out the presentations on what we're going to have and then make the
Well,
decision.
let's continue on with it. Let's hear what they have to say stuff.
Run away now.
I'm running away. We're here to help,
Okay, thank you.
and questions, feel free to ask.
All right, obviously, Nathan Olmsted, who I don't think everybody doesn't know me, so. What I did mostly today when I was in the office is actually something I've been working on for a while. I don't have answers to any of them questions, but I got numbers. I got numbers and figures for the past 3 years averages, how many gallons were used, how many gallons were lost, how many gallons were sold. What you guys purchased it for, what you sold it for, and what the value was on what you lost. Yearly, what it's coming down to right now is a 3-year rolling average, you have about a 25% water loss, which is fairly high. I've seen worse. Don't want to get worse. It gets a lot more expensive, especially when you're paying, I believe it's roughly around, I believe it's $2.90 per 1,000 gallons. You sell it for a higher rate, and just taking that 25% loss on the gallons that were the value of that, if you were to actually have sold that, if you're able to get your hands on that and sell that, was right around a little bit over $85,000 that would have been extra in the accounts. That could be used obviously for infrastructure. Now there's almost no systems that have a zero. You know, anything 10 or below, you're doing great and amazing. The cost, lost all that. I'll continue on here. Now, taking all the total expenses into everything as well for equipment, time, wages, and everything was put into this, and that's not if there's any incidents, accidents, main breaks or whatnot. This is just the average for the 3 years for just typical maintenance, repair, and well, the expenses needed, software, office work, everything was put into a whole here. Now, after you take what you purchased and what you sold, obviously that what's lost is just totally out of the hat. That's gone. Your total that you have without the base rate that you're charging, which is the $10 there, without the base rate is $19,571 profit a year. Now that $10 that adds up obviously for each household throughout the year, whatever, for the 12 months, I should say. So, and that's not counting the debt. I took the debt for that we have on the water plant that gets paid every year. The amount that's charged as well on top of the base charges with your initial 525 and your 280, is it 280 per 1,000? You come in with, you're bringing in about just under 120,000 that goes towards the debt. And your payments per year are running roughly around 126,000. So what you're pulling in for that, the debt aspect of it to pay off that loan is close. It takes care of a majority. So that's actually not biting too far into your actual profit there. So when we total everything together, take all that out, such as the $10 service charges and everything, you're running right under 90,000 profit a year for the water system. Now that's for a system this size, especially when in the summertime, they do a lot more bulk sales. You got sprayers and farmers and everybody. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people pulling more water. That number should be a lot higher or a bit higher. And if you can get, once again, we can tighten up on that water loss with the infrastructure, find our leaks or whatever's happening, wherever it's going, you're going to double that alone.
That water loss for that for 3 years.
Average out each year after the rolling 3 years, 25%.
What was it the last year's?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
I'd have to pull that one up. Do the math.
Because we fixed some stuff, so.
It looked better, you know, because it did look.
Over 30 for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
35
pretty
or
high
something.
for a while.
But that's why you take the 3 years, because you never know what's gonna happen. You know, you can have something else happens in the system. It's an old system. We got a lot of cast line that's out there. And when that happens, you're gonna have the higher water loss, the higher bills for repairs and everything else that's
Yeah,
happening.
the water breaks in the last couple of years have totaled up to be quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we're working on metering everything. A lot of
Right,
stuff.
right, which will help with that as well for the water that's lost, at least be documented.
Mhm. So did I understand you right? The water system, not sewer, water.
This is all just the
making-
water system
It's making us 90,000 a year.
under that, yes,
a little
roughly.
Under, roughly.
There's nothing is absolutely exact to a T. This is, like I said, from the 3-year rolling average. It can be up and it can be down,
Right.
just depending on what's happening. And now I did take the median household income, which it is based off of 2010. They haven't come out with the 2021 yet, or 20, I believe it was 2021. And I guess we really don't know when that's going to happen. And it's a good thing because you guys come in at 30, just over 36,000, 36.5 actually for the median household income. That number there puts you more as a poverty city, which gives you more likelihood to get your grants, loans, and whatever you need, or partial loan forgiveness and everything as well. When the 2020s come out, that's going to be higher. And I believe once it goes over 40 or 42,000 median household income, that drops off dramatically. So that's another thing why you gotta, it's good to take these numbers, see these figures, and there's lots of options. There's a lot of options to do things differently or fandangle or finesse or however you want to say it. It would be good to get something put together and move forward sooner rather than later before these new numbers come out, because then everything is going to be out of realm. You know, it's going to be 2-3 times more expensive. Products alone now, hydrants, pieces, parts, whatever, equipment, it's doubled, tripled, unavailable. You can't get some, you're on waiting list for 6 months to a year. So that's another thing that you'd have to wait on as well. Then, you know, what's the price going to be in a year, in 6 months? It's hopefully it goes down someday, but it's hard to say that's going to happen.
It'll probably go down right after you buy it.
Yeah, that's I ran some numbers on just the amount, because usually it's between 1.5% to 2.5% on what the individual at 36.5 median household income as of that, what they can afford annually. And 1.5% is just under 550 a year. This, once again, this is just for the water. The wastewater is the same amount, 1.5 to 2.5. At 2%, it's 730 annually, and at 2.5%, it's 913.
So where are we at in comparison? to that?
Well, it's about in the middle to the higher end there. By the way it's charged, there is more inconsistencies though, because when I run the rates from the 10 state standards, what we do is we take the water cost and then we add 30% to that. So you take that number and then that's what you charge. I ended up putting 34% on it and it come to $425 per thousand. Now that's just looking at that. Now what you really want to look at though is roughly the average is 2.5 people per household. They average about 3,000 gallons. And you got it. What you do is you take that and then your base rate is what you want to bring up higher, because that way it brings in more money. The cheaper the water, the more water they're going to use. And it keeps more of a consistency. And you guys are charging 10 right now. This is just a, for example, if you were to do a 20, you would double the profits alone of what's brought in. And that's before the sale of the water. You're going to have more people using more water because it's cheaper. Don't have to do it that way. That's just another way to look at it.
Our problem is we've got too many elderly people.
And that's the biggest thing that's understood.
All of that now.
And that, what the worst part about that is that starts starving the city for what they can do or what they need in order to keep it going and performing or just maintaining. Everything just slowly gets more expensive. Everything increases. The elderly are on a fixed income. They really can't adjust too much. But they're not gonna be charged, and obviously a majority of them are probably not even using 1,000 gallons. They probably live by themselves and don't even use 1,000 gallons, so then the water rate really doesn't affect them too much. It affects those that do use it. And that's, I can understand that and see that.
So your option one that you're talking about right now, you would double the base rate, but take the price per gallon to half.
Per thousand. Well, it's not for half. Like I said, these numbers can be, it can be manipulated
Sure.
in any way you guys would want. The cheaper the water, the more they're gonna use too. That's just another thing to look at and take into consideration. It's not, nothing is set in stone. There's hundreds, thousands of different ways to lay this out and set this up. But the city does need to look forward at progressing, moving forward and trying to plan it to somehow make a pot, get a pot designated for the water, make a pot designated for the wastewater, have a little pot or whatever designated for street repairs and whatever else. You know, and some of that can come in from different areas, some of it can come from taxes. I mean, there's all their different areas where this money can come from as well. But you can't rely on grants. You know, I mean, free money is nice to have when you can get it, but you gotta be prepared for the worst case scenario, so you can have the best case scenario.
Amanda, if we're making $90,000 a year and we're proposing that we can maybe adjust that so we can get $150,000 here, why can't we designate, make that fix the water lines? I mean,
That's, well, when you do
That would
this,
be the point. would be
Yeah.
what
to-
comes in
to
from the
have-
water goes back into the water. It
water
stays
account.
there, doesn't go into these other accounts, it stays there and does them
not
repairs.
move it to the general fund.
No, it
That's
should
right.
stay in the water because that's what it's for. That's what the charge
right.
is for.
I think we could all agree on that.
When you think about it as well, it falls under partial street, not saying repairing streets, but when there's a damaged area or something bad, or it was caused by the water leak, you have to do the repair. So it obviously pays for the contractor, Scott, the contractor, the dirt, and to repave it if need be on top. That all would fall under that aspect. Now repaving the whole street, probably not.
Mhm. But that's where the street, yeah, I don't know where you make money in this whole deal to pay for streets. That's another whole deal.
Yep, that's streets.
You're not gonna talk about streets,
I'm not
huh?
today, not today. That's a whole nother pot there.
But we'd have more flexible money in other areas if we built our water system where we weren't robbing money from another area to do these repairs.
A lot of it just comes from robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's just a circle. You're just chasing the tail.
I think Jimmy's right, then we should just say whatever money we're making each month and leave it in the water fund.
Where it gets kind of complicated, and I want to change how this is structured, but I don't know enough about it yet, is right now we have Scott, Bruce, and Michael. Their full package, their full compensation, Scott is water, Bruce is sewer, Michael is whatever, half garbage, half street, whatever it is. I would propose to change how those distributions are. I would take the guys and divide them in 4 ways: street, water, sewer,
And that
garbage.
looks very good on the budget when you're presenting it. If you're ever going in after anything, any source of grants or loans, they can see that you diversified and took everything into consideration and taken all these different funds in order to take care of this position, which that position by all rights is taking care of all them different things. Yeah.
I would also delegate a small portion of my salary to water, sewer, garbage, but a large portion of Kathy, because she is in these. That's what she's doing. And so it would look a little bit different how it looks on the budget now. But I don't know enough. I haven't played with the numbers. Will that give us more money or less money? I don't know yet. But the way it is now, it's not accurate. It's not even close to accurate. Scott is not just water. Bruce is not just sewer. So why?
That's just where they're taking the pay.
It's just, so why are we using the water bill to pay Scott? Why are we using the sewer bill to pay Bruce? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. That makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So if I complain about something else, remember, we agree on
I have that recorded.
that.
I appreciate what Nathan has done here because my brain thought that, but he took our information from our accounting software, put it in paper and spit it out in a way that is easy to understand. Our water system, our water system is only giving us 90,000 a year. That isn't much.
That's not much for growth, you know, once again, you have a bunch of breaks or problems or issues that winter, water tower frees up, $40,000 later. Well, you know, something happens, something breaks, control, whatever happens, 40,000, that's half wiped out.
I mean, sewer is a whole different thing, but we almost spent that much just to fix
Are
whatever we
those,
fixed.
my understanding is that there's a lot of cities that don't even use water tower anymore. They just, and that old water tower's way older than me and I'm pretty old.
It looks in good condition though, so do you.
Go to hell for a while.
I did hear that before. The tower doesn't look too bad, honestly.
Right now,
And it's
yeah.
been, right, and it's
We
been.
spent a lot of money
But
maintaining.
right there, that's where that comes up as well. You know, you can't just take it off wide. You could, but you're gonna need a reservoir. You're gonna need a large enough reservoir. You're gonna need VFD pumps. You don't want to restrict yourself from having a big enough, not having a big enough reservoir in case you have a fire. I mean, yeah, rural water pumps in here and you have, I believe, 100,000 underground out there, correct? And that's good and great, but you get in a house fire or something, or
Elevator fire.
it's gone. It's gone. It's really gone. Rural water can only pump in at 150 gallons a minute, I believe. They're done. You know, you're calling in obviously for reinforcements and help, but everybody's gonna burn that water up fast. That's why it's always good to have that extra water or a larger or secondary ground reservoir. Now, would be taking towers offline a bad idea? No, I would just make sure there's enough ground reservoir. You don't have to worry about a ground reservoir freezing either. But you got enough pumps, backup generators and everything to make sure that you are 100% taken care of in the worst case scenario. Armageddon almost. But how do you pay for it? Save the money. Gotta make
What's a
some
new
money.
water tower cost?
Mr. Blinky,
How much?
a new water tower?
What do you got in there?
It's 50,000.
Oh,
gallons. I was gonna say, he's a liar too.
I think
No,
you sell quite a few.
No,
for
that's under,
50,000.
that's under 1.5.
Mhm.
Not,
New coatings and everything that's coming.
I don't think it'd be feasible. I mean, I think you'd almost have to let it go.
And if you had to do a new tower, in my own personal opinion,
The other thing we do have yet is we're maintaining our old well shed, where that can be forced in if it has to be. I mean, if we had a major fire, we could, I mean, I realize we're gonna contaminate our system, and everything's gonna have to get disinfected afterward, but we could provide us enough water.
that would be bad, but yes, I got you.
I mean, if it actually.
Nobody drink water for a while, just in case.
You know, I mean, I really don't want to do that. But we had to.
Yeah, the whole system be contaminated.
Well, when you were the fire chief, in the last elevator that burned down, Terry and I turned on the untreated water and dumped it in there, so you quit whining that you were running out of water. I think we forgot to tell you. Got a little rusty for a week. Should I turn it on? And I said, yeah.
Yeah, we put some dirty water on it.
No wonder you couldn't put it out, huh?
So that dirt.
So this is just a look at the water system. Eventually, which when time allows, I'd like to also tap the association to do the wastewater system as well. Takes a lot of time.
It's a lot of
And so I
time.
appreciate Nathan doing that. It saved me a ton of time and he was able to just spit it out really nicely. Dan and I, probably over the next 6 months, I don't know, at some point, I'd like to tap into you with wastewater and we'll learn how to do this together. But we have to start somewhere, in my opinion, and with my budget going to be worked on for 2023, if we don't start talking about it now, we can't do anything until 2024. So that's why I had him come now. Again, I'm gonna echo what I said a minute
You know,
ago.
Mayor, you could put something in there for the budget and you don't necessarily
Don't have to use
spend
it.
it until you figure out. But
Yeah.
I would think maybe we should put something in there.
A good suggestion is, like Nathan was saying, you should be $10 higher on your base rate. If you just bump it up a couple bucks, do a little bit of a sticker price right away. You should always have an annual average increase for inflation.
We have it.
Are you?
No, we
Are
haven't.
you?
No.
Yeah, we
Not for the-
raise them every year. after
No.
we get-
No,
they
we
raise
have
us all.
Not the base rate.
Oh, 3%.
Not your base rate. The base rate you're gonna do.
The base
Oh,
rate is
base.
a solid
Yeah.
guarantee is the
Oh,
base
right.
rate. That's why that's more important.
The actual water increase every year.
Yeah. You should get like 3% increase on your base rate, just so you're keeping up with inflation.
Because that's what's gonna
That's
actually
where,
pay
that's
your
where a lot of
bills.
cities
Yeah.
throughout the whole entire state fall behind if they haven't done it for 5, 10, 20 years. And all of a sudden, oh my God, we're losing money.
Like house assessments, the conversation earlier. People are upset because it's double. Happened to me in Weidmer. Hadn't had my house sounded for a while. Was still renovating it, whatever, and it was worth about, I think, $8,000 or $10,000. All of a sudden, it's worth 35. I called them up. I said, I'm not even done remodeling it yet. It's like, oh, you're not done yet. Oh, why don't you call us when you're done? We'll come back through and let you know. But that was it. Then they kept doing it every year after. And it's more acceptable. It happens more often. It's that initial sticker shock from it not being taken care of for so long. Any questions? So far?
Questions?
You did a pretty good job. That's what we did.
Thank you. I'm still confused on about all these numbers I ran through today, but I know they're solid.
If anybody is interested in the documentation that was used to calculate all those numbers, I do have Kathy put together a pretty good package and calculated all this. So if you guys want to look at it, I do have it. But it's been checked and double checked. And
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I like it here.
cupcakes.
On into the. This is the list of what our interviews tomorrow. The engineers, it comes from the sewer project, so.
So you don't have a recommendation until after this, and then your committee's gonna make a
We'll
recommendation.
decide tomorrow night. Or tomorrow after these meetings, yeah.
What, who,
Yeah. Golf course, they haven't been in touch with you or have they or anything? or-
I did provide them the financials upon request. Like we said before the meeting, the ins pretty much matched the outs for how much fees that we're getting on a campground side. So we get $18 a night or $100 a week or $350 a month. If you cross-reference that with how much it pays, how much we pay to have the tank pumped and buy supplies such as toilet paper, paper towels, and electricity, it's pretty much a wash. Another thing that, as I'm looking at the budget, I would propose to the budget committee at that point, if we keep the campground, to raise the campground fees as well.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
$18, you don't get anything for $18. A minimum of $25 a night, absolutely. We have a nice bathroom. We're not paying for water. We're not, well, I mean, we're paying for water, but we're not,
you're not charging.
we're
for
not
water.
charging for water. What you don't see reflected on the balance sheet, you don't see grass, you don't see the manpower on that.
Electricity, do they pay for like, they don't pay for electricity?
18 bucks is what they pay. So
Yeah, you can't even get a
the
10 spot for
cost
25 bucks.
that we are carrying matches how much money we're getting in the little box.
The other thing I've had some lengthy discussions with the county auditor on the golf course and the fairgrounds, and she highly recommends that the golf course doesn't take that over privately. If we don't want to do it, the county will keep the thing because they can't afford to pay property tax and all of that stuff. So I don't think it makes much difference whether the city owns it or the county owns it, but it should be a municipal entity. Joni's pretty adamant about that. Now, I don't know what, is Aaron Burrow the president of the golf course? I think he is.
Yeah.
I don't think
I think their only thing they want is if they got a project out there they want to do, they're not allowed to borrow money because it's in our name.
But you know, the goofy thing about all of that is that I don't know what their property tax would be on all of that stuff.
I do.
But what is
Amanda
it?
looked that
About
up.
6,000 for just the golf course. And if you add the campground and the fairground, you could say about double. So around
Yeah, that's the other
12,000.
thing. I don't think they can afford it. You know. I just don't think they can afford it, really, probably, you know, I think they're running on a shoestring too, I think. I'm not a golf.
I think they're getting better, it's getting better out there, they've got better management and stuff out there. That they're doing okay, but I don't know if they can afford.
Well, I think they did a lot of improvements out there. They did a lot of private fundraising to do stuff up out there.
Yeah, the bar. I go out there to golf. They haven't did anything for the golf course.
You don't.
I'm
drink
not
anymore?
joining next year, that's for sure. Been out there for 50 years and I tell you what, it's gone to hell.
Oh,
It's not a place to golf.
oh,
If you want to go to a bar, we've got enough bars in town. I don't know why we have another one out there.
yeah, I don't know.
No.
But anyway.
The grandstand, I got old Lynn, he's supposed to check with that gal out west that runs the deaf cords. I haven't heard back. So, what are they on that one?
I have a couple of companies that said they would be willing to bid it as well. But I haven't heard back on what that bid would be yet.
Well,
So is our course of action just to wait and see what they want to do?
I think so.
I mean, we could talk with the county and it really doesn't matter whether it's the city or the county because I don't think the insurance would be any less or any more through the insurance reserve from the city or the
No,
county.
but there again, the land issue is what the insurance reserve has an issue with too, and that's part of this process.
What do you mean by the land?
Because the land is owned by the city, the buildings are owned by the golf course.
And we're insuring them.
Right.
We either have to take ownership of the buildings or they have to take ownership of the land. There isn't another alternative, in my opinion.
And the other thing, Aaron, what he's most worried about is the pavilion. He wants to save that, and he's willing to put money in that himself. Like, or
You mean the golf course people or Aaron? or-
Aaron himself would actually want to put money in the pavilion, he said, but there again, we can't sell it to him because it's on our properties.
I don't understand though why we can't, and I know that it's complicated, but why we couldn't sell him that tract of land and draw up a lease agreement for if he has events to charge him for restroom use and parking. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but where are you gonna draw the line, or where they, I mean, you
Does he
get a
wanna
party
buy-
going, you got people running all over, see, that's,
He
it
thinks
just
that-
won't work.
Does he want to buy the campground?
No.
Well, I had talked to him about that, but maybe, you know, if you're gonna take it all, you can take the campground too. You know,
Well, they're buying up other stuff and think they're gonna be,
yeah, well, I mean, this was through the golf course.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I mean, I was wishing he'd be here tonight, but, so I'm not sure where we're at anymore, so.
Well, the biggest thing is he wanted to see the financials for the campground. Well, it's not a moneymaker. So he wants he wants to save the pavilion, not run a campground. So by saying you either take all of it or nothing, we're gonna lose the pavilion. Because that
Well,
wasn't what
I
he,
can't see how the pavilion makes anybody any money.
Well, he wants to fix it up and have dances and stuff, because there's nothing around here that does that, you know, they used to have dances and weddings or whatever out there. That's
Have
what
to
he
see
used-
how the Corday event goes and how we like to have all in public crashes.
Well, and this is our problem. You can't have events there if we own the ground around it, you know. You can't do it.
why couldn't you do some sort of lease agreement or some sort of event agreement each time he has something?
You're still gonna, the city is liable for everything. I mean, you'd be filling out these things like this.
You do this every
4A
time.
on
Do that every
somebody
darn
comes.
time. That's easy.
I'll bet you it's really.
What does
easy
the
to drive
county do when they
cans.
let people use the armory for
I have
dances?
no idea.
I'm sure they have something like that. I'm sure it would be easy.
Yeah, I think the structure is sound.
Roof's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, we don't, not much to talk about there when we get here. We'll come up with something, see what we've got to say. Derelict property, boy, it's getting bigger and bigger.
So I asked Derek to take a look at a couple of different properties. First off, Rick Reed's property from last year. He said that he would be willing to fix the hole in the porch. Is that what it was, Kathy? The hole in the porch and a window or something. Yes. But that's,
Before we get into all this, we can't afford to tear down this many houses. I mean, you're gonna be looking at 10 grand a piece to tear these
Well,
houses
we're-
down, so you're gonna have to prioritize these, maybe 1 or 2 a year. I don't know, the Hooterites probably aren't gonna be tearing down an elevator.
Doesn't sound like it. You know, I can't figure out why Rick Reed would want to pay property tax on that house that isn't livable.
It's full of antiques, all of his wife's antiques. are in there.
well, so we have,
Is that the,
He stores that place is plumb full of antiques.
His wife's
His wife's got all
Yeah.
that bunch of antiques.
stuffed is what I heard. It's
Yeah, it's
full.
stuff.
so that's the rub.
Yeah,
so these first three are what you guys deemed condemnable last year. So that A, B, and C, we have to talk about. That's old business from last year. So Rick Reed,
Larebold actually is the. main
and
one
that's even
still
older,
actually-
yes. So we're
That's
gonna
the
get
first
there.
one, really.
Yep. So starting with Rick Reed, we asked them to provide us a plan of repair or we're going to start condemnation proceedings. So Rick agreed that he would fix the hole in the porch by the foundation, right? And fix a window. He was open to selling it too. I don't know. So the council needs to decide if those two things would deem it not condemnable.
And what do you say, building inspector?
Now you're asking a lot. That was a year ago.
Yes or no, that's the answer. Not good enough. Not good enough.
What's
Well,
the
yeah,
rest
so
of
the
the
roof
roof
line.
There was a roof and stuff that he needed to review, I thought, too, on that one. Back towards.
Well, and it's got a lot of
Front
trees
porch
growing
to the
around the
back.
foundation.
Oh, he talked about the trees.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're
I
gonna-
should
I
have
think you
signaled
guys
it.
said
I
he
know
was gonna
exactly
cut
what
trees.
that's gonna cost. But 40 grand.
So if he does those things and if he does those things, that's his action plan that we requested last year. So I'm bringing that to you guys. That's what you guys asked for.
Well, I think what you have to decide, Raleigh, is that good enough to avoid having to pay, condemn it and pay to tear the thing down?
Yeah.
Or not? And the answer is, if he really does that stuff, maybe it is.
You gotta leave it for a while, yep.
Okay,
Well, let's have him do the stuff that he says he's gonna do and then look at it again, because he does at least keep the grass mowed and
mhm.
he does keep
And the
that.
What you
taxes are
don't want to
paid.
do is have him do a bunch of little stuff and spend $10,000 and tell him, wow, that ain't good enough, we're gonna tear it down, condemn it anyway, you gotta kind of decide whether I don't know if it's savable or not.
Yeah, I don't
It's
either.
just the, the trees are killing the foundation, because the roots grow through that. So
Yeah.
he gets rid of the trees, that'll stabilize,
I think he said they were gonna cut the trees down too, isn't that what he told you? Yeah, so I mean.
Jerk them out.
And it's like I said, is the roof on the north side good shape or? Wasn't the best, and I know the back
yeah,
side wasn't,
well, it's hard to say, those old, I think those were T-lock shingles. And those
how many
things-
layers are on them?
Yeah, there was 4 layers on my house when we stripped it. So, yeah, that layer probably looks like crap, but the 3 layers underneath it are probably crap too, but. 3
Is it-
layers of crap are probably good enough to keep the water out.
The question is it leaking? And if it's not leaking.
Yeah.
And you can't tell from the outside.
Is that chimney falling down
There were some blocks missing.
or?
Yeah,
Huh?
There was
Was it?
blocks
I
missing
couldn't
on
remember.
his end ties.
I looked at that.
Okay,
I mean, it's not leaning,
what
but,
about,
I mean, with the wind we had, it hasn't fallen over. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if it was gonna fall over, you'd think that 75-mile-an-hour winds would knock it down.
what about Petronella's house?
Petronella has not provided us a plan in any sense of the word, so she was given a letter. And her hearing to plead her case is the first meeting in July. She has since called and said she won't be attending that hearing, but she still has not given me a plan. So if you go by the procedure, if she doesn't show up and provide some sort of something by July 5th, is it? We can give her 30 days to tear it down herself, or we can hire it done and charge it to the taxes. So I think that one's in a holding pattern
Do that.
until
Let
July.
that one go until the
Yep.
next meeting.
July 5. The third one on the list, that is Tice Faust. He sold it to a new person, so we've been in contact with them. And that new person is from out of state, and they will be doing repairs over the next year. I feel like he gets a little bit of time since he's a new buyer.
I imagine you got lied to you.
So that's where we are from the 3 from last year. And to follow up for on the public record, those were resident complaints. So we are doing our due diligence to follow up with resident complaints. Moving down the list to the 4th one is a property that was condemned well before my time. I don't really know why no action has been taken. But does the council want to pursue condemnation as in he's been given time? He hasn't done it. Are we tearing it down and billing him, or are we leaving him alone?
I think it needs to be tore down. It needs to go on his taxes. Because if we keep letting people slide, they're not gonna do.
Yeah,
nothing.
now it's just time to get bids.
Okay,
This is that one that's across from the home.
nope,
No,
this is
Blair
across from
Oh, you're talking Blair one,
the,
okay.
yep, this is the 4th one, across from the
Well,
elevator.
he did fix the roof, and Jody says that he owns. There's 2 properties there.
Right.
Now, I don't know
Pay taxes
whether
on
we,
one.
did we get the
taxes on
trailer
one.
house one back?
No, we own that one now. It's empty.
But we own the trailer house lot, but we don't own the lot where the house is. He still owns it, but that doesn't mean you can't condemn it.
That's right.
And
So
you
he
guys
was
can't
also,
even imagine what it looks like
And
inside.
that one's already been gone through the condemnation.
yeah, it was supposed to be condemned the end of 2020.
Yep.
So I don't know. I can't speak to that.
We did continue to get bids.
He did get a letter from our office saying you have 30 additional days to tear it down. I can resend that letter if you guys want me to. I have also reached out to 2 people to ask for bids for demos, and they have yet to provide me those. I told them the goal would be to have 1 or 2 done by the end of the summer.
Who'd you call?
I called Lynn Bell and Teddy Bjornsted.
Call Melvin Bell,
Melvin, God, I don't know these people.
Lynn's brother.
Lynn and Melvin. I'm
You must
sorry.
send Melvin a water bill.
I thought they were the one and the same.
Yeah, Melvin. I'm sure they get the word.
Oh, yeah.
No, we don't. Okay, so here's the other part of that. Okay, I'm gonna like interject myself just a little bit more. Do you guys want to pay someone just to take it down and we have to deal with all the roughage? Or do you want to pay somebody to take it down, get rid of all the stuff, because if we have to deal with all the roughage that is going in our dump, and not everything can go in our dump.
So you think it should go in my dump?
It could go in your, if you're willing to do that,
No, that's what he's saying.
No.
He ain't doing that.
right. So when we're bidding, when I talked to Lynn Bell, he said, well, I can tear it down, but where am I gonna put it all? Well, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't know that that's a good idea to put all that in our landfill.
That's the problem, where you go with it.
We have to hire somebody that will take care of it. That's part of the cost, right?
You're gonna be lucky if you do one a year, then
Right.
we can't afford it.
I mean, that's, I guess, that is why I'm bringing it to you, because it's an issue, because we can't put this stuff legally in our landfill.
What stuff can't you put in there?
You can't put shingles,
Yeah,
you
we
can put shingles.
You just have to go through and make sure.
The shingles have to be off first.
So who would go through it?
I don't know what are you talking about, we can't put in the.
Well, you can't put.
Well, we don't let other
like
people bring
this
shingles.
stuff.
I just assumed. Yeah, we don't let other people bring
No,
shingles.
but most of that going burn, you have to burn it.
Burn it. just
When
like
Glenn was
we
tearing
always
stuff
do.
down, we always had to take shingles off. They went into a different pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, like if the wood has paint or anything on it, we have to put it in the nerd pit anyways.
Does it might have lead in it?
Yeah, well, they still want it contaminated wood, they just want clean burnable stuff.
No process.
Yeah.
So then we're like tag teaming essentially with somebody. Then we're tag teaming, right? So they would do the demo and you guys would help figure out where everything goes and how, and policing that, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think I worry that much about it, throw it and burn it up, it's
Oh,
gone.
no. Oh, please don't say that.
What? Well, you got out there, you
We're
don't need
on
to know it.
record. Don't say that. Don't say that. That's, no,
Like me.
you can't do that.
What else you got?
Okay, so the last two are ones that I had Derek just recently drive by and kind of look at.
Who's 1021-6? Is that?
That is-
John Dirk's house?
No,
Is
that
that
is the
Hallwager's?
one right across from the nursing home.
Oh, wait,
That, like,
Oh,
double
wait.
wide house.
Whole waiter is old.
I don't know who that
Double wide
is.
house, right?
well, I can't imagine that Dirk's house isn't about the worst one.
Well, that one's is according to Dale Schindler, you can't even walk on the first floor. The floor joists are gone.
Which one?
The bird
The old
house.
Kessler.
Kessler's.
Which one is that?
Kessler, on the
On
highway.
That's not one of
That's
these?
not-
No, it's not one of
Okay.
these.
I'm
There's-
sorry.
there's
We're
a
gonna
lot of houses.
steer a little bit. Let's go through this first.
It's the one that's got the upstairs full of birds.
I don't know what that, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. I need addresses.
It's right on Highway
Fifth Avenue.
17.
Across from Danger's Dan's old
Fifth
house.
and Seventh.
Straight down from the auditor's office.
Fifth Avenue and Highway 17, right on the corner.
Okay,
White.
On the west.
Northeast.
Okay.
corner. Right on the-
so I did
East
not
side.
reach out for that one because is it empty?
It's empty.
It's empty.
Actually, it doesn't
Jeff is
look
living
bad
in
on the
Minnesota.
outside.
I picked and chose because like we just talked about, this is money. And so this one across from the nursing home, we've had lots of complaints about, and there's windows open. To me, that's more of a health threat. That's more of what condemnation is supposed to be, is a public threat, not just because we don't like it. So I asked Derek to breeze by and look over that one, as well as Rick Reynolds, as we've gotten complaints on that one as well. So I'm gonna let him.
Well, I went by the nursing home and she said that there's multiple open windows, so I think that would be a, safety hazard.
Are they
is one of
broken
the-
out, you mean, or just open?
Some are broke, some are open,
He was up here just a week ago.
Yeah, he was.
but
Who owns that one down? Somebody in South Dakota?
Yeah,
I think there's a
the
place-
name is, it's under a lady. So I don't know who this man is, if he's a husband, but according to the county, it's under a lady.
doesn't seem to keep the yard up much either, but all those open windows, that's a clear
That's
safety
been
hazard.
that's 3 years those windows have been open. We've been watching it for 3 years.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, it's not leaning, it's not falling in or falling down, but, you know, with the open windows, that's a safety hazard. The kids could crawl in there, and then once you get inside, who knows what they find.
And I'm sure there's gotta be mold in there,
You can
it's all
smell
through
it.
winter, that was.
You
So-
can smell the mold.
So I would say that one, you know, set the
Definitely.
windows open year round, that can't be good. So,
Must not be stuffy in
Probably not. You'll probably get it for a good price, Jim.
Mhm.
Maybe I got some son-in-law wants to fix it up, but I don't know. Or one that
There you go. It's in front of it, nothing. Put tons of money in it.
Yeah, that's just too
The
bad.
city did that, or paid for that.
What we did last time for these top three is we sent them a letter saying, these are the things that we've found. Please rectify the situation because it's
Well, I think
against our
the rest of these
ordinances.
guys should get their letter too.
Mhm.
including
Yeah,
Dirk-
without a doubt.
Dirk's. Yeah,
That's gonna go to his son Jeff. Well, Dale's kind of managing the property for him or whatever, but Dirk's son Jeff is in Minnesota now with his sister. Which I don't know if you guys have a forwarding address for his.
Dirk who?
Dirk's,
Dirk's.
John Dirk's. That's the one that
That's
was
the one on the corner. where-
What's the name?
John Dirk's.
DIRKS.
John Dirks. Because we don't have water bills. I don't know who these people are.
CK.
I think it's CK.
Dale knows how to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Dale would know.
Well, I would go to the county and get their legal address for the person that pays the taxes. That's how we
that
go
ain't-
about
that
it.
ain't-
The guy that's paying the taxes is dead.
Yeah, that's probably not there.
But you could ask, Joni will have something.
Yeah, they'd have to have a mailing address because somebody's paying the taxes.
Don't bet on it.
Jeff Dirks.
Yeah.
And this is,
His son.
Fifth Avenue and 17, Highway 17.
Right on the corner.
It's rough.
What's that, Cass?
We drove by it a couple
and so
times.
from the
Yeah.
public health standpoint, because
They
that's kind of,
cleaned up the backyard, but
The
Yeah, it
grass
hasn't been
is
mowed again for, Dale keeps the front yard up, but
the back is mowed, it's,
okay.
no.
typically what we do is we match this up with the ordinances that talk about the condition of your home and all of that kind of thing. So we'd have to like go through the ordinance to make sure it's against the ordinance. I mean, that's what we've done in the past.
So Jeff was gonna try and fix it up until his sister found out how rough she was giving him money to fix it up. And then she got found out how bad it was from Dale and she stopped putting any more money into it.
Okay.
She's like, no, it's not salvageable.
And then the last one on the list is, it's owned by Rick Reynolds, 923 Third Avenue. What did you think of that one?
Again, it's in rough shape, but it's not leaning, it's not, I didn't see any open windows or open doors or busted out foundation blocks or anything, and there was that last year? I think Andy let me into that to walk in, because they said there was like rats in the basement, but I didn't see any of that. I didn't see
When you look now, they're probably drowned. I think
Mainly,
it's full of water.
complaints mainly about
Water.
grass.
Well, I didn't go inside it, I just drove around, I looked at it.
Mainly grass,
What's
The rough, the
White
yard
is
is rough
grass,
shape.
not getting mowed.
mainly grass, and they just said general condition of the home. And again, I don't know if it's against the ordinance.
I don't know what
Other
the
than
grass
grass
are condemning. Because it's no safety hazard, it's not leaning, it's not falling in, the foundation ain't collapsing, so.
I wonder where, I think that they're delinquent 2 years on the taxes on that one.
On Rick Reynolds.
Might be 3 now. So they'll come back to the county / city.
We'll get it anyway, probably in another year.
Then Scott can fix
Have
it
you
up
ever
on
heard
his
any more
spare
from my tie? When are they gonna tear that one down?
She hasn't said, just that she's been incredibly busy. She did come that last weekend that I had asked her, and she did mow the grass on her lots, but she did not speak to demoing. So I'll probably send her a letter as well, saying, you know, you have until, what's your guys' deadline and what are you gonna do if she doesn't do it?
Did she pay for the house?
She paid $500 contingent on demoing the house.
Yep, so that was part of the agreement. She has to take the house.
But when she bought it, it was winter, so now it's spring, so do you guys want to give her
So
until?
have we given her the deed yet?
Yep, she got all of that, it's done deal at the end of last year,
But then she didn't do anything.
well, because it was winter.
Well, it's not winter
It's
anymore.
not
At least
winter
there wasn't
now,
on
that's
Saturday.
right. That's right. When do you want her deadline and what are you gonna do if she doesn't?
Cost us money. Just turn around and have it back.
That's the trouble, like I said, that's where we're trouble. I don't think you're gonna get one of these houses tore down for under 10 grand anymore. You know,
That's the other thing, okay, we're talking about budget. That's something we could put into our budget for next year. You want to budget one? You think we'll get one of these or two?
you're gonna get some bids and see where we're at.
I think you should, you got way
I
more
do.
than one or two a year to tear down.
Definitely.
That's all you can afford here.
Yeah.
But they're gonna tear down Overly and Rolla elevators. And they said, I don't know who this is. They're supposed to get back to me, but some outfit out of Rolla, they said the bid is half of what the Blue Rights want. I don't know, but I don't know who it is. I don't know. They're supposed to get a hold of me, and let me know the name.
Well, the other part is, I mean, we could do it like we do other things for higher dollar amounts. You could publish it, see what happens. Word of mouth is not always the best.
I think for the few that are around here, you're better off to just call them like you did and tell them to give you a bid. There ain't that many around here to do it, so.
Okay, so what did we land on? John Dirks is getting a letter saying, please clean it up. Rick Reynolds is getting a letter saying, please abide by the ordinances pertaining to grass. And the house across from the nursing home is getting a letter saying, please abide by the ordinances, clean this up. We'll chat again in
Well,
60 days.
The least he should do is here, board up the windows.
Get it closed up.
Okay. And then to recap, the top two, Rick Reed, I can tell him, let's talk after those repairs are done. And Petronella has her 30 days.
We'll just wait and see if she comes to the next meeting, so.
Well, I know she won't. She already told me.
That one,
Right.
But
that one would cost some bucks.
That one's gonna be expensive. That's a big place, yeah.
But you know, there was people that were willing to buy that years ago.
I know. That's the trouble. That's the sad part.
If
But
she
before
put it
got
up for
so
sale,
bad,
she might be able to sell it, but she won't sell it either.
not anymore, probably. It's probably too far gone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Put your foot right through the wall.
Anyway, okay. Election results. It's just-
yes,
Oh, and Troy wanted me to thank you guys for the tour from the pavilion. For Lincoln. Said, make sure you found out I was going, he said, make sure you tell him thank you.
Oh.
So, okay. Done.
thank you, Derek. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Obviously, I just have to put that disclaimer out there. Those results are not official.
But this, we don't have to act on that.
No, it's just an FYI.
Yeah.
And then just so that you guys know, since we had city people on there.
Four-day agreement, this is what Bruce drew up for us.
It's been signed by all of us. So that's in the file.
Is that thing gonna happen then?
Well, I guess. What I'm told, I don't know.
Okay.
But a call Sunday, I think it was all Don Eagle's sister called. They were concerned because they've been in Fargo when the Black Lives Matter thing happened down there, so they were a little concerned. And I said, well, this isn't quite like that one, I don't think so. You
Tell them
know,
they're having a bonfire about 2.5 miles west of town, on
Yeah.
the south side of the road, and that derelict house that's sitting on block.
well, there's one or two of them gonna come up and stay in the house over this.
Oh, in the town.
Mom's house, yeah. So,
Okay, we're back to replacement values. The bill is due very, very soon, so we need to talk about what you guys want to do. Had lots of time to think about it. Obviously, do you want me to keep the pavilion on there or kick it off our insurance?
is that got like full coverage or just liability or what do you got on?
It's got a replacement value on it. It doesn't cost us that much. It's $32. Deductible is $1,000 if anything happened. That's listed on page 2, by the way.
About half to leave it on until
Yeah, you got
whatever you decide to do with it. We got at least liability on it.
bear.
And are we, we had talked about if we don't get any bids, then we would put it out bid to demo. So is that what you guys want to do?
That's what I thought. I don't know.
Or do you want to wait and see if somebody wants to buy it, or are we just moving forward with demo?
To say, I don't
I
know.
can't really imagine that the armory couldn't serve that function in summertime.
It usually does.
Yeah.
But it's the style of building, it's like the barn, that they're like Bonanzaville and Fargo,
But
it's
I don't know, did Aaron have his wedding or wedding dance or something? That's what I got and gathered from
Their
him. He
dance.
had one, huh?
Yeah, they did.
That's, I think that's what he's thinking about, I think. And then I don't know, has he got partners in this, with the wine
Sam
apartment?
held and
Yeah, didn't he tell you his investment group, they would fix it up, but there again, we got the land,
Well, I think you gotta sell in the thing with the land and there, you could take a square out of there, and sell it. Yeah, but I don't know. You could throw the campground in if it just breaks even. And
well,
maybe
yeah, I mean, maybe that's what we need to do, sell it all to him personally,
keep the money we've got in the campground fund and sell it to him.
No, that's what we keep that's for sure.
give them that option.
Yeah. we could Sell it to him, sell them all, but wouldn't.
Then they'll tax the pavilion and they'll lie about that.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have to sell it for much,
Right, yeah, that'll teach them afraid it was only worth $1.
And then, of course, you have to have easements for the pumps and everything.
I don't think you have to sell them the land on the north, but the water lines run over there.
Yeah.
I don't think you should disconnect them in case you get.
Oh, yeah. No,
Man, is this value, they've got, this is replacement cost values that are on here, is that? the
This
values
is what
they've
it's
got right now?
insured at now. You guys were provided the other stuff from Insurance Reserve Fund several times months ago.
But they never got us a price of what it was gonna cost to jack it up to that rate.
Right.
you never did.
This
get
is-
nothing
this
out of
is-
that,
She was
This
supposed
is
to have
as it
sent it
sits
to you.
now. Yeah.
Because
I
I
don't
had talked
have
the
that.
last, before I left, I said, now make sure you get I think we went to replacement cost on the
We
city
take certain
hall.
buildings other than the rate,
Yeah,
the fire department, the city hall, or city hall, I think, and was the audit.
Audi, I think.
Yeah.
She was supposed to get replacement.
That was
cost.
off the way.
I don't
We
have
wanted to know what difference, what it was gonna cost to have it at that rate.
at the full, at what
The
they valued
replacement
it.
cost, what they valued it
Yeah,
at.
I don't.
And then we never did get that, so I could see.
Yeah,
I
because the
wanna
fire
see the difference.
stations, the fire station's at 375, that should be more than that. I would think.
So you guys want me to ask Cindy
She's
what
supposed to
the
have gotten
cost-
that back to you, yeah.
what the cost would be if you did it at full, what
Replacement.
Woodruff valued them
Yeah,
at.
the fire,
Yes,
is
yes.
the fire department, I think it was.
Was
City
one, that was
Hall,
one that definitely we wanted up.
Those three, wasn't it? Those three?
Fire department, city hall, and Audi, I
Audi.
think, and we were gonna not go that full amount on the rink.
Right. The price that we had at the rink, I think we we're gonna leave it at that, which is a
Right now, it's
$1,459,000.
Yeah, a little under $1.5 million.
Table that to the next meeting. Put it on the agenda.
A renewal. We could also do, if you wanted to, since this is due soon, I could pay it as it is now, and we'd have an additional cost for replacements if you up
Yeah,
it,
yeah, you always do it that way. Do it
When's
as,
it due?
like the beginning of July.
You better pay it now, then.
And so you guys need to look at this list though, and if there's anything that you want to downsize coverage. That's why I asked about the pavilion. Fencing. You know,
Yeah, like that line tip fence, I don't know why do you have insurance on that? I suppose it isn't much.
the other thing that I questioned number 49, library property. Why are we insuring library property? We're not insuring anybody else's property that's in our buildings. We're not insuring museum, we're not insuring fire stuff, we're not insuring the Audi,
Was the library considered a city?
no. We're not insuring golf stuff.
Well, it's called the Cando Public Library, isn't
Well, I mean, it's the Cando Library, but it's not the Cando City Government Library. I mean, they're not connected to us, otherwise they would report to us and they don't.
I mean, the premium's cheap, it's $106 for 185,000, but there again, yeah, it's not city owned property.
It's not ours,
paying for content,
So they should be insuring their own.
absolutely.
or else reimbursing us that $106 out of there. How do they do that?
Who's a council member on the library board?
Chantel?
Not at the end of the day.
Not at the end of today.
You got out of that pretty quick, didn't you?
I was wondering if you had any info.
Have
No,
you-
I don't know anything
Do they
about
even have any meetings? Have you had any?
Yeah, for a couple months.
Okay, so it's pretty good.
I think probably should just pay it and come back at them and go, hey.
And
this
I
gotta be your
I hate
cost.
to argue with you, but you're on the council until your replacement's sworn in on the first meeting, so I'll help you between now and then.
Knock on wood.
Actually, I did have one person, Derek Childs, had a small house up. What's that on Second Avenue?
Second Avenue and Second Street.
Second and second. We
Wasn't
looked at,
happy with it.
we looked at the ones that he owns and maybe someone
There's
else
something
owns
wrong
it
with that
now.
one, or what?
Well, I drove by, it's decent and everything. I think the big problem is he doesn't get the grass mowed about twice a year, so this neighbor's always doing it.
Well, Jet mows it, and I get calls every month saying there's cats, and the last time he looked in the basement, he said there was like 20 dead cats in the basement.
Where's this at?
Where is
Right next to, right
South
south,
of.
Huh?
right next to Glenda,
Glenda.
to the south of Glenda.
Oh, sure.
Glenda Thomas.
He
Yeah.
put a new roof on it like 6 years ago, and
The Minnesota guys
That's
still
when
have that, right?
yeah.
The hunt-
Derek has it, or who owns that? Derek?
Derek.
And, well, I get when you drive by, see the window, there's boxes stacked up, it looks like it. I mean, I don't know what's in it. I didn't get out, but I.
The front porch is like leaning, and
It's kind of
I know all the
sad.
neighbors complain that it's.
It's just a dirt basement. In fact, the water meter probably covered up the dirt. Right?
Well, he,
I had to dig it
we
up.
had it,
last time.
we had it insured, and he had to provide pictures that he reblocked the structure, so it was not leaning in the middle, and I don't know how the insurance company passed it, but he blocked it up with cinder blocks and then a couple of jacks, and said it was good, and they let it go.
That probably should be on the list.
Well, Jed offered to buy it, he was all tear it down for the cost of the lot. Oh, I want 10 grand.
Yeah, that Jeff talked to me about that. He said he offered him 1,000, no, he wants 10, so.
Well,
It's gonna cost him 10 to take it out of there.
That Rick Reynolds house, he thought he would put it on the market for 20.
Yeah,
Well, Ty wanted 20, for its originally 25,
Who did?
Ty fights. Jason offered him 10 so he could tear it down, but he wouldn't do it. According,
Yeah, them houses aren't worth much. You couldn't give them.
Even when you fix them up, there's not much there.
No.
You know, it's-
Not the price of them.
No. So, yeah, I'll move on.
So that's what I'll do is I will pay it as it reads and then just ask her for actual replacement ACVs, right?
No.
You need-
Replacement costs.
Replacement
We're at
costs.
ACV right now.
Yeah,
You
money.
need replacement costs on those.
And the value.
And she was supposed to do that because I even talked to Chad. And he says, well, yeah, I remember you calling me, telling me to have her do that. She hasn't got back yet. And I said, no. So, okay, I will have her get with Amanda.
Okay. And then what that would cost in insurance
You really
coverage.
want to see how much it's gonna jump,
Okay.
that's what we're trying to look at.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Ross must wanna bend the rules a little. I'm not familiar, I guess, with this is 118th Third Avenue, on the west side of Third Avenue.
That'd be like Chad's.
It's next door to the greenhouse, I'm guessing.
Greenhouse is 110,
Okay,
so it's gotta be one of those
smaller.
smaller ones, a little farther down.
So between JP's and that greenhouse.
Yeah, I would say
Well,
it's either the
there's,
pink house or the yellow.
Haley Singers,
Yellow house.
the beach house, that's Derek's house.
Oh, he still owns it?
Yeah, he still owns that house, that second house. Or he did. I don't know if he sold it now, but he did own it.
Oh,
I think that is that greenhouse.
No,
Right next to
the
Chad's.
greenhouse is 110, I used to live there.
That's 110. Well, then Haley's is the next one to that, and then it's the beach one that Derek owns.
Now, ordinance said it must be 25 feet, but he said within, it doesn't really say how close within, I guess.
There's two white flags there. I was gonna say, should almost have Derek drive by that. That's, God, 118 though.
So what does he want to do again? I'm not following.
Apparently put trees a little too close to the driveway from the city ordinance.
And he's already done it.
No, I don't think so. I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah, he's already flagged it, I think.
He flagged it, but I think he's asking for variance to put him that close.
There's probably so many little driveways up there that.
And who is this guy now?
Well, this is Ross is asking about. He's planting, I suppose it's city trees. I suppose.
Well, I don't know. Secret letter from people to the driveway, take 1 tree out or something.
Yeah.
Those guys get way too carried away planting trees and that.
Yeah.
Let's
just-
No.
Table that, man. We better go do some looking.
Yeah.
What is that? 118 Third. Let me go take a couple looks. before we- Let's just table that one. What do we got here? Building.
Great house, God.
Well, they're both
This is
approved
on
by the
your-
building
your-
inspector.
Other property, Todd?
Replacing. Oh.
Yeah.
Knowledge. though.
Just acknowledge that. Oh, God. Okay, well, they're acknowledged. City council reorganization meeting. State law said you gotta do it on the 28th of June, and I guess we've always did it at the next meeting, the first meeting in July, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I guess I don't know.
You just do it prior to having the
Yeah,
regular meeting.
before the
Before
meeting
meeting, you
starts.
guys.
Right.
So I think we'll just continue that and do it that way. Financial. Big surprises there. We were
Not really. Just kind of, so this is through May, so we're not quite 6 months in. So you can see the distribution of how much money we've used up compared to the budgeted money. So we're getting real close there. I don't know what this job development one is.
I was gonna ask you, what's that one?
That'd be good. Yes,
I kind of think that might be a,
that's their house for the trees. Because the Murphy's is 122 and Haley's is 114. Yeah. Their house.
yeah, I have to look at job development. That one doesn't look quite right. And then, of course, we're abiding by state audit request to give you guys the bank statements. Yep, so those are in there, and the bills for approval are at the very, very end.
Okay, look at the bills and. What'd you buy at Ferguson's for 12 million?
Those were,
These are probably water meters, I would say.
Okay,
He's got a bunch of cases of them, and they're expensive.
yeah, I don't remember it. The bills are over there.
yeah, that's, well, they've been coming.
Years. And then that jet, of course, that we had to use for Rick Reed's, was it Rick Reed's that used the jetter?
Yep, yeah.
Oh, that's for,
Oh, it's
The lift station, yeah, sorry.
$7,000.
Something that I was looking into months previous was our heating costs. And so it's something that I'm gonna look into as well for our city-owned buildings. I visited a little bit with SIG about it, the water plant and the shop, if there's anything that we can do to figure out how to cut those heating costs as well as our building. In the here and now, probably some weather stripping in my building would help, but that's some,
Insulation in the shop.
yeah, I mean,
Joints are all showing.
that's something that the council needs to talk about and think about too. I'll be putting it on the next agenda. The buildings, if you guys are not wanting, if it was my building, I wouldn't want to pay that amount of heating. I would invest in doing something with that. But we spend a lot of money in propane.
Raleigh, I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
All right, motion been made to pay the bills or second.
Second.
Made second to pay the bills. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Yeah, sure.
Opposed, huh? Opposed? Motion carried. Anybody got anything else?
I'd like to say a few words here since this is my last meeting. Is that possible here, Mayor?
I think.
Well, I think I'm the longest serving person that's sitting on the city council. I'll give everybody a little history. Back in the middle 80s, I think it was 86 or 7, I got on the council. I was a council member for 16 years. 12 of those 16 years, I was president of the council. Then I was the mayor for 8 years. And then I took some time off and then I put another, so I've been part of this board for 28 years. And I want to thank the city of Cando for the opportunity to be able to serve. And I really don't plan on going anywhere other than Arizona in the winter, but I want to see that the city succeeds in all of these endeavors, and I'll be around to help. I've agreed with Mayor Bierstead that I would sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the time being. And I would be on the Special Assessment Committee because I have experience on how not to do that with Jim Army and Greg Westland. And it was disaster when we screwed it all up, and I don't want to see that happen again. If we have to, and we may have to special assess something if we're going to do some of those projects. So that's my 2 cents worth, and I guess I, for the most part, enjoyed my time here. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you'll all be successful if you can figure out how to lower taxes and increase services, because that's the 2 complaints. The taxes are too high and we're not doing enough. But if any of you have got that solution, I would suggest you go to Washington because we need help there.
Probably more than here.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for having the opportunity to let me serve the community.
So you're good to be on the library and audit board.
No, that's. Trust me, there's other things he can do that he would be more of an asset to than the library.
Oh, yeah, no, I got my 2 guys right here.
Oh, yeah.
They meet in the evenings and that, these 2 are gone in the daytime, so they don't have any choice.
I have appreciated your David Hoover stories.
Which one?
There's several that I really like.
Okay.
It's kind of fun for me to hear those stories.
Dave was a good council person, and he and I were the number 1 and 2 punch for Mayor Broughton. She was really conservative with the money, and Karen was a good mayor.
Dave Hoover and I had to go up against this guy most of the time back in the 90s.
That's what he said. He said a lot of times there was,
Keep you honest.
That's right, Joni's biggest challenge at economic development is trying to keep me out of jail.
I'm wondering if we should adjourn the meeting. So we can shut
Right.
this off. Some of this might not be
Recording
good
you.
for you, too.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
Jimmy, you remember when you were, we were trying to get the